Our next guest, right? He played on the college level for 2 Division I school basketball teams. Now, this might be the only person still to this day that I know of that never played a game of high school basketball. He played at Syracuse and St. John's University and walked
SJU.
SJU, baby. That was back then. They was the Redmen when they were real racist.
That's right.
That's right.
Now they're the Red Storm.
Yeah. It ain't been nothing to look at since.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing to look at. With further ado, producer Jamie, can you bring in Brad Small, please?
What's up, fellas?
Hey, Brad, how are you?
How you doing?
Brad, what's going on, brother? How you
Before I
doing,
share
Bradley?
pleasantries, I will also want to bring up I was one of the last Orange men too before they got pulled together.
Oh, wow, that's true.
Wow.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right, Brad. So you got a history with that, right?
That was around the time with Derek Coleman, right?
Yeah, he was larger than life up there. But
Yes, he was.
before I even get into it, man, I'm really happy to be here. It's just nice to have a forum. You know,
Yeah. Appreciate you, Brad. Appreciate that.
I'm not going to bring it up, but I mean, you got 5 bald men here, so there's not a lot of barbershop.
Yeah.
So I really miss this, and, you know, any opportunity to learn and think outside myself. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
You don't need hair to chop it up. You just don't need
yeah.
That is not a requirement.
Requirement got to have a bald head or close to it. Kelvin still got a little bit. Shade.
Just a little shadow, a little taste.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't see it though. The shirt was reflecting. I couldn't see it.
Thank you, D. D, you just served it right up for him, D. Thank you, D.
but really, so Brad, like, you know, I'll give you the thoughts because you came on to play college basketball. To me, when college basketball, that was the last era of its peak when it was really, like, to me, off the hook good. You had more rivalries back then and stuff like that, and you have seen a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so, with that said, how do you feel about when people say college basketball players should get paid, and some people saying, "Oh, you know, they get a free education. They should be happy with that."
Oh man, that's a loaded question. In preparing for this, I had like a presentation, fireworks, animation. I was ready to go on this, but it's funny when I was younger and people would say, "Oh man, you know, they're just on a plantation," and I would be like, "I mean, plantation? These kids are going to school. They're getting on TV, and you know, they're the big men on campus." Da da da. When you think about it, they bring so much value, and they make so many other people rich.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, very comfortably wealthy, and that's the kind of the injustice. I mean, I did put together a few numbers, so bear with me. March Madness in 2019, it brought in $933 million.
Wow.
And then the bowl season in 2018, the participating schools, they shared a profit of about $450 million. And then on the NCAA's balance sheet, on the income statement, actually, after the money went to the schools, they generated a revenue of $1.1 billion. That's after the money was distributed to the school. So there's so much going on. And where does it come from? It comes from kids who their parents are taking them to camps, kids who are spending all their extra time at the park, all their times in high school practices and AAU tournaments. They're generating value, and they're being rewarded with something that is valuable. These days, a $200,000 scholarship, which is annual, has to be renewed every year. But it's almost like,
and you have to maintain a certain average too, right, Brad?
What's that?
You have to also maintain a certain average to keep that scholarship going, right?
The thing is, you got to maintain average, and you got to maintain your performance.
Okay.
You got to play for that next year's scholarship.
Okay.
In a lot of cases.
And your performance, your performance help make sure the coach keeps his job.
Exactly. And when I say the time value of money, because we're basically giving you $200,000 that will be worth something after 4 or 5 years. Meanwhile, all this money is flowing, cash is flowing, and cash now is worth more than cash tomorrow. And administrators are getting that. So that's why I get so passionate about it. Talk with my hands, because I mean,
it's all right. It's all right.
It's an injustice, you know.
Yeah, no, that's real, because like, to me, it's like you know, it's a book called The $1 Million Niggas, right? Something like that. Like that's what you basically are. Like, you know, I've had a little cheap little bullshit a baseball scholarship, I remember the athletic director and the coach pulled me in because I had an attitude problem. If anybody know me back then, I was long time ago.
Not you.
So that sat me and they said, listen, you're going to have to compete for your scholarship the next year. I was like, and you know me back then. I walked off. So, with that, so Brad, when people say that kids should be happy to get a stipend and stuff like that, what does that really look like when there's a stipend? And then also, I want you to break down how did it look when y'all went to celebrate dinners and stuff like that. I want you to let people understand what went down in those rooms.
Stipends are basically spending money. It's pocket money. And some schools don't give stipends. But if you're in one of the bigger conferences, and for the most of the conversation, I focus on football and basketball because they basically subsidize the other sports, and they subsidize the schools for that matter. So those two sports. Obviously basketball players are more, you get to know them more because they're not covered in equipment and stuff. But football is the real driver. But back to your question about like stipends, it's really just pocket money because you're really not allowed to benefit in any other way. I think they just want a case where you can benefit off your likeness, but for years, you really couldn't even have pocket money. So it helps. It makes you. I mean, how would that a college student, a few $100s, man, you the man. But in terms of the value you bring, I mean, you're a marketing tool for the school. People come. I'm sure a lot of people went to Syracuse because of Derek Coleman. Just seeing him, just seeing that dome on Sunday mornings, like back in the good old days. I
brought shirts because of correct. You know what I'm saying? I bought paraphernalia for the athlete with their name on it. That they probably didn't get a dime from the damn.
They
jersey.
Don't get a dime for the jerseys. And they
Hoya sneakers. I mean, who all thought that Georgetown was a black school because John Thompson?
I did. Yeah, I did.
I thought it was a black school. I did. And then I went. Remember back in the day, they had a big college book before the internet, and I looked on. They said 1% black people.
Yeah,
I was blown away. They were just going to 1%.
That's the football team. I mean, that's the basketball team. Is that 1%?
So let me ask you this question. Yeah. Brad, let me ask you this question. We know, I think it's maybe 1% that actually make it to the NBA or make it to the pro level out of, I think, Division I schools. What should the goal be? What plan or what advice would you give to a person that has the talent to play Division I basketball? How should their approach be? What should their objective be?
Well, basketball and football are different. I think basketball, now schools are catering to the player to accept that one and done model. Hey, we know this kid is going to has aspirations for the pros. Let's make it the greatest 1 year for our program. And if we change our business model, we can benefit off it. We can change our expectations. We won't have those 3-4 year expectations.
Oh, Brad Rose.
So we can get them out of Devin Booker, Bam Adebayo, Kentucky. Like really the master of this is John Calipari in Kentucky. Yeah. He said, you know what? I get my place. Hey, Anthony Davis, come here and talk and tell him what we do. DeMarcus Cousins, come here, tell him what we do here. Yeah. And then he gets those. He became part. He adapted to the system. Even Mike Krzyzewski did to a certain point because back in the day, Elton Brand, I mean, he basically spit on the Bible by leaving Duke early. He got letters. Students wrote letters to him saying, "How dare you, basically mess up my experience here by leaving our institution." He's like, man, I'm about to go be rich. Yeah. That's how athletes are viewed. Again, I can't stress enough how much value we bring that's not rewarded in immediate payment in cash.
Right.
And then also certain things. Like Brad, remember we were talking back, and you came into the gym one time with some different sneakers. Can you tell about that? What happened when you came in with different sneakers, or outfit, or something like that?
No, it was sneakers. Well, I was a walk on both teams, so I would go to the games early, get dressed, and go put up some shots. That was me playing, on the court, on the court that was about to be on TV on the network. That was me. I was doing the countdown shots from the corner and buzzer beaters in my little practice time. So I went in early, got dressed, got my ankles taped up and everything. And I heard that Jim Nantz was out, getting ready for the broadcast. Jim Nantz, Billy Packer. So I was like, oh man, I want to see Jim Nantz. And shortly before that, I had bought some Asics because they were orange and blue, feeling college colors, and I was rocking those to class. So I threw on my Asics because they happened to match, my shooting stuff, my shooting gear. Wanted to rush out to see, hey, Mr. Nance, hey, I'm a big fan. Just wanted to shake hand, bucket list type stuff for me. Came back in the locker room. One of my teammates is like, maybe I take those shoes off. We at Nike school, man. You can't be seen with that. Like, it was just, I didn't know how much of a business relationship we had with Hip Apparel and Nike sneakers. So you better not be seen wearing some Asics just because they match. But I guess that's a New York thing. We just match.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Brad? What you saying that I'm a St. John's University grad.
Okay.
And so there was a time when St. John's, when Brand Jordan was making St. John's gear.
I think that was Felipe era, I believe.
Right, exactly. Artest Felipe, Zendon Hamilton. And so what happened was we started finding out that there were Reebok schools. So then it started to be a thing where people were trying to certain agents were trying to steer kids to a Nike school and others were trying to steer them to a Reebok school. And I think that's when it just became a big issue across the board. And I don't think Jordan makes it anymore. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I look at a program like St. John's, who was in the rare position where there was no dorms at the time and they lived all off campus, and then they were able to get a housing allowance. And so that was almost like a way, there was an incentive to go to St. John's in that regard because you were actually paid. And I think the kids stayed in Jamaica Estates or somewhere in Hollis Hills or something like that.
I stayed with them a lot of the time, and not too far away, about 10 minutes away from the campus. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But I have to ask you this, and this is veering off a little path, just as just a personal thing with St. John's. Yeah. We can't keep talent in New York anymore. The school definitely, it used to be a big deal to play at the Garden. It's not anymore, I think, because everybody's on TV. But what is there ever a chance that St. John's can come back?
I'm going to answer that after Brad talk. I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why St. John's fell off on that.
It's tough because of the high school 1 year, 2 year, go to the pro model. And really social media and just the world used to be small. I mean, I think we kind of take it for granted. I think, when did Facebook really take off? About 2006, 2007?
Somewhere like that.
Twitter
right
shortly
after, right after MySpace.
Exactly. And the world was small before then. So, to hear about big names, and even the media has become, it's funny.
Oh, you pause.
Not to go from too much of a tangent to debate, or a lot of, there's more sports reporting than actually is sports, which is funny to me because now with high def TVs and a whole bunch of cable channels, we can see what's going on. We don't need it to be reported to us. And I think it kind of parallels your question, because now we can see all these prospects. We get a little background information. We get information about the schools. We have information overload. So now it's not just risque to go to what St. John is about. You can find out online and find out it's kind of a commuter school. I just think we have more information. It's just not the biggest deal in the world anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of my friends is Walter Berry, that went to St. John's, the Truth, right? So
Shout out to Walter Berry.
Shout out to Walter Berry, good dude.
That's right.
So what he told me before, what the difference was with one of the downfalls of St. John's kids from New York going to St. John's was when they got the dormitories.
Correct.
So he said when the dormitories came, before the dormitories came, St. John's would give the family some money to pay their rent. So it was like for the kids to stay here, commute every day. So once they got the dorms, they didn't get the family rent. So the family's like, yo, Tennessee's giving a check.
Correct.
Or Tennessee's, whatever, Miami's doing this, then the third. So, so the kids was like, they bounce out. Like Brad said, also, the world got smaller. I mean, because everybody got information to find out I go to this school, whatever. And like you said to me, not dissing you, Kelvin, and you St. John's graduates and all that stuff, and my goddaughter. But it's like a high price community school now.
Well, you know what? I think that's very, very fair. I think one of the things is this: you can go to Kentucky or one of those other places. People don't know Chris Mullin had a chance to go to Duke and decided to stay and play, in New York. But this is the issue: you go to one of those places in the South where they don't have. New York is not a college town. New York has 9 pro teams, and so you go to Kentucky, the whole city operates based on that campus and that school. St. John's is a very small campus, and it would take. I'm gonna tell you what I think hurt us. We thought at the time Felipe Lopez was what was going to be what LeBron James is. We thought Felipe Lopez when he took off that thing and showed that Indian thing, and he was going to go to St. John's, we thought this is it. He was number one in the country and stuff like that. And you know what happened? Felipe got exposed. Felipe was not what we thought he was going to be, and I think that hurt us.
He's a good dude. Felipe's a good dude. Like I said,
yeah, but people don't watch good dudes. People want to pick on buckets.
The good dude don't cut it in the pros, though.
Yeah, true. So
Brad, a hype job.
So Brad, I got a question for you, right? So some people argue, like, and say, like, you know, when we say college athletes should get paid, right? So you got the basketball team. You know how much money basketball generates in football. So they say, what do we do with the tennis player? What do we do with the basketball? I mean, the golf player or the baseball? Because you and I have a very good friend in Milton. His son is about to go. I think his son's probably going to go to one of the top D1 baseball schools soon. So what do we do with those players and stuff like
that? Again, I think it's hard because again, the football and basketball programs do subsidize other sports. I think each institution had to do an assessment on how to distribute the money, but I think they're using that as an excuse not to pay. So, you know, hey, we can't figure it out, so we're not going to pay anybody.
So, you're right, because the school, the resources, how much resources the school get from sports? They get labs, all kind of stuff built from the.
Yeah,
athletes.
I mean,
correct.
I wrote down it's kind of a cycle, like a self-sustaining cycle. So you get that money, and the money comes from TV contracts, advertisements, corporate sponsorships, and a little bit of ticket money. You get all that money, it comes in, you get improved facilities, you get improved staff, IT infrastructure, improved marketing programs just for your school, marketing budgets, improved curriculum. Then you attract students based on the curriculum. You develop corporate sponsorships. So with that curriculum and those corporate sponsorships, now you have a recruiting path for all these new graduates. They go out and get good jobs, and the alumni gives it back. And then it keeps going. I still get, just today, I get emails from St. John's. I think annually I get an email for like a golf tournament and come see Luke on a second, Chris Mullen, spend about $1,500 for a golf weekend, things like that. Mm-hmm. Once you start generating that money and it starts to become this self-sustaining cycle, then it's almost like you started the car and now the motor's running by itself. Mm-hmm. I would love to see some people make the decision and put all that energy into HBCUs.
I want to bring that up. Go ahead. Talk on it.
Just because, it's almost like HBCUs are going the way of the Negro Leagues. Once integration was allowed, it kind of diluted the talent in the league.
I always say Jackie Robinson destroyed the Negro League, but that's another subject. I know a lot of people got mad at me on that, but I'll explain that later.
But it's true, though, D. It's true.
It's true, and somebody would have done it if not him. It's just, It's a shame, though, because at the time when we're really looking for, I just have a philosophy about us as a people. I think more so than any other group of people, we suffer from a low group. And when I say that, I mean, like, we have high self-esteem. Each one of us can, do what we have to do, even when we're going through tough times, and try to dig out the mud and we're trying to make it. But as a group, we're easy to say, man, I'm doing what I can. I don't know about that nigga over there. I don't think we have a collective home because we don't share anything because so much of our history was stolen. So we're trying to just find our way. Mm-hmm. And I'm not mad because when you're surviving, you kind of do what you have to do. How much extra energy do you have to be a brother to your brother? So when I see an institution like an HBCU about like what the Black church used to be, and I see missed opportunities, it's really upsetting because those are some things where we can finally find some common ground and really kind of call ourselves community. Community is sharing something. So honestly, I wish they would take all that value that they're giving to all of these majority schools and these majority coaches and give that to the HBCU family so we can kind of get our motor started and have it self-sustaining.
I got another question for you, Brad. Not one more.
Yeah.
So how big do you think it would be if LeBron James' son went to HBCU? That
was one of my big presentation for Fireworks. That was like one of the solutions. Like it would take somebody like him who can afford to take the loss of his kid grabbing that brass ring. I tell you, like Denzel, his son went to Morehouse, played football. He was a beast. Then he tried out for the NFL, couldn't make it, went to acting. they could afford to take that L. I hate to count somebody else's money or say what they can afford to not, do, but it takes celebrity. Son coming up. You got to. Most of these guys have sons who are following in their footsteps. I mean, Kenyon Martin, Dennis Rodman, Carmelo's got a young son. If a few of them would just, that'd be an opportunity. And I would recommend anybody who has a school-age kid looking for college, at least consider an HBCU. Again, for that sense of community and for another very important reason. I think sometimes being detached from the majority world, we associate success with whiteness. When you go to a black school and you're rough around the edges kid, you got to stay in those registration lines. You got to, do some work. You got to learn how to balance that partying and all the fun and all the girls and all the other stuff and guys for the girls. And you got to do it. And sometimes you got to make it work. And over those 4 or 5 years, you grow up and you become successful and you realize success isn't just a white thing. I had to be successful here to get out. I think right now, being so detached and being isolated in our tribes, too many of us think that, professionalism equals whiteness, success equals whiteness. Nah, it happens in the black community too.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point.
They don't want to go HBCUs. They want to go somewhere where they can get a white woman on their arm.
No.
I mean, ain't no white women there.
You got a few there. They got that certain haircut and everything. The white girls with the certain. They dig the black guys. They got a certain kind of haircut and stuff like that.
Well, you know what I think. I think you make a good point. I think you make a good point because one of the big complaints about historically black colleges is lack of resources. And I think if we could funnel some resources, you leverage what you can have. I always said if a white person could do the job LeBron James could do, LeBron wouldn't have a job. What it is people control what they can control. That's why we're not dominating on Wall Street and other places. We're not given the same opportunity. But athletically, since we are the primary, athletes, I think we should leverage those situations. Now, I made the mistake of going to Virginia Union University.
Hey, my man, don't say nothing bad. My man Milton's in the chat. He might get on you. Go ahead, talk about
Charles Oakley come in and slap you too.
Charles Oakley will. That's the truth. I'm trying to tell you, Charles Oakley slap you, just see how you react, and that's the truth. But I'll tell you what it is this. I didn't do the work in high school. So in other words, I had Morehouse ambition and I had Virginia Union grades. And so as a result, I think what you have to do is we've got to put more stock into working just as hard academically as we do athletically. I think that's one of the things. And kids are always looking for a way out. I like what you said, Brad. We kind of have to redefine what success is. That's the issue. People think it's the car and they think it's the house and they think it's the attractive woman or whatever like that. If you don't have esteem, and you don't have esteem and you're not grounded, you're going to constantly be running after your own tail because you'll never be fulfilled. And I think that's one of the big issues.
Yeah. So go ahead, Brad.
No, you got
it. No, I was going to ask you. So do you think with Deion Sanders now being the head coach of a historical black college football team, do you think that would make a change for kids to start giving it a chance? Because like you said, if we fund our talents to the historical black colleges, the resources would be endless. How it would be?
I want to believe that that's the reason he did it. I want to keep believing that he'll stay there and this won't be a stepping stone or something else. I want to believe that with Deion. I wanted to believe that the effort is 100% benevolent in nature. Because things like that, because if he leaves or makes it a pit stop, it'll set the program back. Things like that, things like a LeBron sending Bronny there, and unfortunately, our people, I love them. Sometimes they like to be entertained instead of empowered and informed.
So Brad, you feel Deion Sanders went there just as a stepping stone, to go get a coaching job in the pros?
No, I maybe I'm being a little unfair. Deion's prime time.
Yeah.
I hope this is a long-term move.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened? What happened?
Yeah.
Am I frozen?
Yeah.
What happened?
It just sounds like it's a remix.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What is going on? Producer Jamie, can you help us out? Is everyone hearing this?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it. I thought there was somebody doing a record.
I thought I made
Ron, you frozen? talking, Rod?
Yeah. We
can't hear Rod.
Derek.
Derek. I can't hear Derek either.
Maybe Rod sign off for a second.
I don't know what's going on. All right. It's just me and Brad. Okay, cool.
You just sound like you had a big record there today. That's the hook.
that was kind of
that's that black card you were talking about, man.
I think it's Rod. I think it's Rod's Wi-Fi again. He really do have that Teddy Riley.
You got that Teddy Riley, man. That Teddy Riley got him.
I thought my point was so dope. But no,
well, go ahead, Brad. Go ahead. You saying something, Brad?
I'm just a little. I'm probably unfairly skeptical because Deion is prime time. But if he puts in 10 years, that'll make a big difference. That'll attract people there. That'll give the school itself some exposure and experience. Right now, a lot of HBCUs are known for their bands instead of their sports.
Yeah.
So if he can put this, if he can help with this sport,
I never go to the game. I only go to halftime show and leave.
That's all you need, man.
I mean, really, y'all the man is just trying to make a point that we got to stop that.
I know we got to stop. I'm guilty.
But you know what helped? I gotta admit, when you saw School Days and a different world, it really, really helped. And now I don't think, because I have to admit, and I think Dee mentioned this before, I didn't know about historically black colleges until School Days and until a different world.
That's very common for us up north. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't know it wasn't spoken on. We didn't know too much about the HBCUs. So that's real.
Yeah. And most of your schools, they kind of make that southeastern corner in North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, and Texas. There are a few sprinkled out, but it's really that kind of lower right corner of the country.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make two points, if you allow me.
Go ahead.
In terms of the money that's flowing, and this is a this is a negative view of the money. And back
Rod. Rod having all type of issues today, man. Go ahead.
Wow.
I just read the news. Under Armour just bought out of a $50 million contract with University of Cincinnati. Probably post-COVID. Probably things weren't popping off the way they wanted it to. They paid over $9 million to buy out a $50 million contract.
Wow.
That was the third one, like 6 months. They had they just bought out of a $280 million contract with UCLA, a 15-year contract. They just bought out of an $86 million contract with UC Berkeley. Like, look at all of this, millions of dollars from the value we bring. Now, black people make up about 55 to 60% of both college football and college basketball. Those numbers go to 70, 75% when you get to the pros. But look how much money we bring and how much other people who are not playing, who are not sweating, who are not practicing.
Right.
And they're just splitting hundreds of millions of dollars. Gets me going. And the last thing was, like I said, what would you do with your son? Doing the right thing for the people, for the cause, it's not glamorous. Ask Cap. Ask Ali. Ali didn't get famous till he couldn't speak anymore.
Yeah, damn shame.
And what's really bad, Brad, was really bad also is I remember taking, I think my nephew or somebody to, check out Morehouse, and white kids are playing baseball. So the teams, they'll give white kids scholarships at the historically black colleges. And white kids are down there playing certain sports that we won't play. And they're the minority at those historically black colleges. So therefore they're getting the full rides.
Thank God one of my close friends, my sister, her son is going to Morehouse to play baseball, and he's a little light skinned, but
hey, leave my godson alone, man. He little white eyes and everything, let me say down south, he a little red boy, a little yellow. But
Brad, I gotta ask you this, and I don't want to bury the lead here. Brad, I gotta ask you this. I think it is amazing for anybody, as Dee said in the introduction, to play D1 ball who did not play high school ball. Tell me how you did that.
Well, anybody who knows me, most people ask me, walking around, if I didn't have a ball in my hand, they say, "Hey, where's your girlfriend, Spalding?" I spent most of my time in the park. And I got in fights. I played. And it's funny thing, it was so many great players who just, the system wasn't for them. School wasn't for them. Right. So I learned from them. There's one particular guy, everybody in the world hates him. A guy named Junior, run his mouth.
Oh,
but
God.
he taught me
He was an
how to go hard, how to play hard. We actually wrote in spray paint, go hard.
Go
hard in the paint on our court. Mm-hmm. So now when I'm in school, and I got into school on my own merits, but after March Madness, you know, players would come into the gym and play pickup. So if they need a few people, boom, I join in. I come in one day, and I'm the starting point guard. I'm giving him the business just because I'm really not scared of him. I came up South Jamaica. I'm a New York City point guard. I can't shoot. I can dribble and pass, or I could. But I just ain't no punk. I wasn't scared of him. So just to keep up, I mean, I can remember Billy Owens would give me the ball to take it out, dribble, and then throw him alley-oop on the other end. It just showed I could play in their speed. So I became, I got the best seat in the house during the season. I got to travel, got a little bit of money here and there. And again, on the money, I mean, from like the NIT preseason tournament, things like that, we used to get watches. Again, they would tempt us with trinkets. And I say us loosely because, again, I wasn't blue chip. I wasn't in the system. But they used to have the ACC Big East Challenge. One year they gave us cordless phones, which today would be an iPhone back then.
Right.
One year when I was at St. John's, the same Big East ACC Challenge, the sponsors gave us little remote control color TVs. Like they would give us they would shower us with trinkets and they would give us the feeling of being rich, but without the actual cash.
What is it like being a New York City product, walking in to Madison Square Garden on that court, being surrounded by those seats at MSG?
It's a little intimidating. It's got to the Garden. I was so tired because the season was. I can remember trying to shoot an NBA 3-pointer and I couldn't because my legs were gone. Wow. From a season worth of practice and being 5'10" on a good day. I was furthest away from the rim. And it's funny because we take, shoot arounds pregame, right? You see both teams shooting around. In my mind, all right, I'm gonna get some shots up too. I remember coaches yelling at me, you better go in there and rebound and basically warm up the starters. Catch their errant balls and kick it back to them. That's what you're here for. Biggest seat in the house, the best seat in the house. It was an amazing time. Like anything else, I wish I knew then what I knew now. Mm-hmm. In terms of the opportunity to, just making the most of everything that came. But it really just, I just played. I was very athletic, and all of my closest friends were athletic. So, just being in New York.
Hey, I wasn't always fat. Tell him, Brad.
He actually was. He was fast. He was fast. I remember we had a few foot races. Like our other best friend, Katori, he was like the second
fastest in New York State,
fastest person in New York. So yep. Again, some people just made it through. Unfortunately, man, that's why I love our people because we got to do so much just to make it through. And that was just my particular journey.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one day a bully was trying to beat me up, and I hit him in the nose with my basketball, and I got him off. So, I had a special relationship with a basketball.
So, Brad, we got to get out of the next thing. But one last question for you though: if you had you've had a blue chip son, what would you do? What would you tell him?
Whew. And it really comes down to the parents' decisions because to show a kid all of what he would be getting in a opportunity. I would like to think that I had self-awareness and I would teach my son or daughter a good amount of self-awareness. I would try to get a gauge of if he wants to be a basketball player or a football player. Does he want to be an engineer? Does he want to be an architect? Does he want to be a doctor? And again, I would put it in my consideration set, HBCUs. And I would, instead of just having a blanket decision to only choose HBCUs, I give it a perfect example. There's a sophomore named Mikey Williams. He's like the #1 sophomore in the nation. Class of 2023. Mm-hmm. He's got 5 majority schools on his finalist list and 5 HBCUs. I think his mother played softball for Hampton. So I think that's the best you can do. Put all of the possibles into the consideration set and then make the best decision. And again, being that martyr is tough. So that's what kind of slowed me down in terms of putting this big presentation. Because at the end of the day, man, I can't tell you what to do when you're possibly looking at generational wealth and the path to it. But man, throw some HBCUs in there and see what the program has to offer. You know, the best thing you can do is be open-minded. Right. I think HBCUs they kind of get pushed to the side, especially people like Wendy Williams talking, running their mouth.
Oh gosh,
that's a whole nother subject.
I got you.
That's a whole nother. Yo, Brad,
give
man.
You content, brothers.
Nah, Brad, listen, man. Truly appreciate you, man. Your insight on a lot of stuff, man. The history of the St. John's and Syracuse stuff, man. I truly appreciate you, brother, man. I love you, man. And hope your knees get better so you can play in the 50 and older league.
Love you too, man. Hey, your brothers are doing a good thing, man. Just creating a forum for just regular talk.
Yeah, man.
Just like that success. Regular conversation. Sure, that's normal. That's not just a white thing. This is normal, man. Exactly. Intelligent brothers with some experience who, you know, have wisened up from things they did a long time ago.
A long time ago.
You know? A long time ago.
It's a good thing y'all doing, man. And I'm keep watching every Saturday, you know.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, man. Love you, Brad.
Thank you,
Brad. Take it easy, man. Take it easy.
Peace. Be safe, brother.
Peace.